We are just a few days away from the start of HHN season, and like so many of you, I have been keeping up with all the announcements, speculations, and waiting patiently for food previews and the debut of the tribute store. For me, half the fun is the build-up to opening night, figuring out which houses I think will blow me away, which ones I'm a little unsure about, and figuring out which foods are at the top of my must-eat list. Today, I'm going to go through all 10 houses for HHN Orlando 2025 and break down which ones I am most excited about. I'm just ranking them in terms of my own personal excitement. This is not necessarily a worst to best situation, and I think that all houses on this list have contenders to be really great houses this year. The more I find out about the event, the more stoked I get to go. I'm sure that this season is going to be one of the best. So without further ado, let's kick this off with our number 10 least anticipated house. And this one may surprise you. Coming in at number 10 as my least hyped house is Terrifier. And I know this is a hot take because I know Art the Clown has a huge cult following, but the Terrifier series just is not for me. I feel like Art the Clown has kind of a vague backstory, and I know that it's intentionally kept vague, but for me, that gives him a lack of depth that I just don't buy into as much as I do some of the other classic slashers. I feel like the Terrifier movies are just violence and gore for like violence and gore's sake, and that's just not really my thing. I like a story, I like a backstory, I like themes and motifs, and I feel like the Terrifier series doesn't have them. And if they do, they're lost on me. That said, the more I read about this house, the more I am increasingly terrified of it. In one article I read, there is going to be Art the Clown writing his name in poop on the wall in one of the scenes, while the smell is pumped through the house. So much so that one of the people who worked on it said the scent would cling to his clothes. So there's a very real possibility that this house will leave you smelling like poop. And I'm not into that. I'm not into that at all. I am excited about the potential use of water effects in this house. The Orlando house is rumored to have a choose your own adventure kind of exit. One will be a dry path and one will be a wet path. And one can only assume they're going to use water to give us the feeling of being sprayed with blood. So that's terrifying and gross, but I'm all for a good water effect, so that kind of makes me a little excited for it. I think this house is going to be completely over the top. I think that is the way that you would do a Terrifier house and do it justice. So I think fans of this house are going to love it. People who aren't familiar with it are going to be like, what was that? And people like me who are familiar with it and don't like it are going to be like, this is exactly why I don't like this franchise. Coming in at number 9 is Fallout. I know, another IP, but I am just not that excited about a Fallout house. This is another IP that I just don't personally connect to. I've never been into the Fallout games, and I'm not into the Fallout TV show, so this just isn't the series for me that's gonna get me excited about HHN. I know they'll do a good job with this IP, and I'm sure the sets and the whole pacing of it is going to be cool, but it's just not super high on my hype list. I have read that the Universal team worked very closely with the production team of the actual TV show, and they've actually woven in some teasers for season 2 into the house, which I think is super cool. And I think if I was a fan of the show, I would really appreciate that. I'm just not. But maybe this house will turn me into one. Who knows? Coming in at number 8 is Grave of Flesh. This is an original concept that I originally had very last on my list, just judging solely by the concept art. The monster in the Grave of Flesh logo kind of reminded me of the Depths of Fear house from HHN 29 for some reason, and I really disliked that house. It was one of the biggest letdowns of that year for me. So once I made that connection, it was kind of hard to not make that connection and just get out of the mindset of this house is gonna totally suck. But my mind has been changed a little bit after I saw a vlog by my favorite YouTube vlogger, Vincent Vision. He did an Unmasking the Horror tour and gave a sneak peek of inside the house, and after seeing some of the sets, I am kind of excited to see how this house goes. I've seen that some of the set pieces do look really cool. There's probably going to be some kind of rain effect. We enter through a cemetery and we're present for our own funeral. And there's this really cool set piece where we're like in the grave and we can see like our tombstone above us and it may be raining. So I don't know, the house itself maybe a little lackluster is still kind of what I'm thinking, but I am a little bit more excited about it now that I have seen some of the elements. Coming in at number 7 is Five Nights at Freddy's. I know, another IP super low on my list, but again, this kind of goes with the whole Fallout situation where I'm just not a fan of this IP. Five Nights has been rumored to be at HHN and suggested by fans probably since I've started attending this event 7 years ago, and every year that I hear it suggested, I'm silently like, oh no, please don't do that one, because I'm just not into it. It just doesn't do it for me. In fairness, I have not played the game, but I have seen the movie and it was just pretty mid for me. Freddy and the rest of his animatronic friends have never been that scary to me, and maybe it's just because I am a 90s youth and have fond memories of Chuck E. Cheese. Maybe animatronics just have a soft spot in my heart. But I did recently read that Jim Henson's studio is working on the props for this house, which leaves me very excited because I'm a big fan of his work, and I know that if they're on the case, this house has the potential to be really cool. So all in all, I think this is another house that has the potential to surprise me, but not one that I'm super excited about right off the bat. Coming in at number 6 for me is Gulkin. This is an original concept house based around Vikings and Norse mythology. Because it's based around this Nordic lore, I can almost guarantee that this is going to be our cold house. And when there's a cold house, that automatically bumps this concept up to at least halfway in my list, no matter what the concept is. I love a good cold house. One of my favorite houses in the history of ever is Yeti Terror of the Yukon from HHN 29. And since experiencing that house, I've always been looking for another house that's going to transport me to this snowy, cold, desolate locale the way that that house did. I love the snow effects. I love the blast of cold in contrast to the Florida heat. I just can't say enough about a cold house at HHN. And we haven't had one in a very long time. So based on temperature alone, I'm excited for Gulkin. Coming in at number 5 is WWE, The Horrors of the Wyatt Six. And I'm about as shocked as you are that out of all the IPs, I have the WWE house highest on my list. I'm not a WWE fan. I don't think that I have seen any WWE outside of like Hulk Hogan clips. So I'm kind of shocked that I have this one as high as I do, but I'll tell you why I'm excited for it. I think a lot of HHN fans have been pretty harsh on this house, and when it was announced, I don't think it was received all that well by like the HHN community, but I think it could be really cool. Once I dug into the lore of these characters and their connection to HHN, I'm kind of convinced that this one's going to be a sleeper hit. First of all, just by looking at the characters, their costuming is really cool. Each one of them looks like they just stepped out of an HHN house, so I think they're going to be right at home. Once I learned about Bray Wyatt and how this house is kind of a tribute to him, I instantly was connected to this house just because of the backstory. Apparently, an HHN house featuring the Six is something that he always wanted to do, but unfortunately passed away before that dream was able to be made a reality. With that in mind, I think the HHN team is really going to go above and beyond to honor Wyatt's legacy and make this house one to remember. Coming in at number 4 is Dolls, Let's Play Dead. This one is very similar to Grave of Flesh in the way that it is one of the original concepts that I was originally not very excited about at all. But similarly to Grave of Flesh, once I was able to watch a video peeking inside the house, the more I got super excited for this concept. When it was initially announced, I think I just misunderstood the concept. I thought it was just going to be like a bunch of creepy dolls, and I didn't really get the vision of it, and that was my bad. I didn't realize that we are going to be shrunk down to doll size, and it's not just going to be a bunch of creepy dolls and mannequins everywhere. Once I saw into this house, I realized that it's going to be like that cue from Toy Story at Hollywood Studios where you're in Andy's room and everything is like super big and like you're the toy. This is going to be like the most twisted version of that, and I am really excited to see what they do with it. Coming in at number 3 is Jason Universe. Okay, when it comes to classic slashers, I am a Michael Myers gal through and through. but I've never seen a Jason house at HHN, and I'm kind of excited to experience it this year. I've been really impressed with the way that Universal handles these classic slashers. I was lucky enough to experience the Halloween house in 2022, which was a redo of the 1978 film, and they just did an amazing job with it. The sets were phenomenal. It was one of my favorite houses ever. And I'm hoping they do the same thing with this Jason house. Now, I do understand that Jason Universe is kind of like a reboot of the franchise. I think that it is a new take on it, and that doesn't really mean a whole lot to me because I'm not like a super diehard Jason fan. Honestly, I just love the wilderness campy vibe so much that I'm just excited to see how the creative team transports us to Camp Crystal Lake. I'm expecting pine scents, maybe a simulated lake scene, and of course a hockey mask wearing killer. That alone sounds like a recipe for Halloween Horror Night success. Coming in at number 2 is Hatchet and Chain. This house is designed by Dylan Colath, who is the scenic designer that is responsible for what is probably my favorite haunted house of all time ever, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake from HHN 31. He also designed Blood Moon Dark Offerings from 2023, and both of these sets were marked by their beautiful set design. Dead Man's Pier was breathtaking, and it's one of my favorite experiences, not just at HHN, but probably ever. I know this is going to be an incredibly detailed house. This is giving Red Dead Redemption vibes, and I'm a big Red Dead fan. Although I know this is not a Red Dead house, it's definitely influenced by that series. I have yet to experience a Western themed house at HHN. I know they've happened in the past, but I think that setting would lend itself really well to a house, and I'm excited to experience it. I think it's going to be a really cool setting, a really well done set, and a memorable house for sure. Finally, my number 1 most anticipated house is El Artista. You guys, this concept is just, it's everything. I buy in so hard to this idea of a tortured artist. I love A Portrait of Dorian Gray and the game Layers of Fear, both which, of course, have the tortured artist kind of motif woven through their storylines. And I think there's just something about it that makes for like a tormented, hauntingly beautiful house. And I'm really into this concept. My guy Dylan Colath is also a part of this house, so I know it's going to be steeped in torturous, haunted beauty. I'm expecting grand facades, rich 19th century interiors, and external expressions of inner turmoil. This, you guys, is me in a house. El Artista may be my most hyped house, but what I'm so excited about is that it ties directly into the theme of this year, which is this idea of the conservatory. And I'm so excited that they're using a unifying theme to tie this event together. One of my biggest critiques from last year was that the theme felt so disjointed. We had Sinister and Surreal, which were our 2 sort of icons. Maybe they were sisters, I'm not sure. But one was supposed to be for physical torment, and the other was supposed to represent like mental anguish and sort of more of psychological terror. They each had their respective scare zones, but then there was like this 1980s punk vibe with all of the merch, and it just felt really disjointed to me. And I'm so glad to see that the scare zones are all united under this similar theme. I love that 2 of the scare zones are tied directly to the theme. In the very front, we have the origins of horror, and I'm so glad for this return to a unifying theme in the beginning of the park. Then we have the Masquerade of Death, which is basically like a haunted masquerade of vampires. And I love that this kind of ties in that mansion theme right at the beginning of the park. Then, of course, we have the Crooked Cat Lady, which is what I'm most excited about, which looks just amazing in this wooded area from the updates I've seen so far. And then we have Toxic 20s, which is going to fit so perfectly in the back of the park in the New York area. I'm thinking that this is going to be just a really cohesive, exciting concept. Now, I wanted to touch very briefly just on the food at HHN this year. As I was recording this video, they just dropped the full menu, and I have to pull out a couple of my favorites and just discuss which ones I'm excited about and which ones have me questioning. a little bit. When they dropped the food previews last week, there were very few standouts to me, and honestly, seeing the menu, there still continues to be very few standouts. The offerings look pretty basic. I mean, we're getting like chicken tenders, we're getting mozzarella sticks, we're getting an Art the Clown popcorn bucket that's actually made of chicken. It's a little confusing. I am excited about these deviled eggs from the Fallout booth. They look exactly like deviled eggs, but they are made of like panna cotta, and I'm thinking that that's going to be a really interesting, fun gimmick that I'm excited to experience. My first impressions of the food are that it looks a little bit lackluster, but I am attending Premium Scream Night, which includes unlimited food, so I will be sure to try everything, and I'm sure you will get my full review very, very soon. Well, that's all I have for you today. To tell you the truth, I think I'm most excited about this HHN more than any other event that I've been to. Not because any of the IPs particularly stand out to me. In fact, all of the IPs are things that don't really align with my personal tastes, but I'm more so excited about this unifying theme of the conservatory and the way that they're really committing to quality houses this year. I'm just already blown away by the artistry that I do see in the houses, and I know this is going to be an HHN to remember. The next time you see me will be post Premium Scream Night, and I can't wait to share all my thoughts about the event and see how the houses actually stack up to the initial thoughts that I have about them. If you're attending this year's HHN, be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know what house you are most excited about. Or let me know if you have any questions about the event, and I would be super happy to answer them for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.